That would be my guess. Is where the sheep compensates for the biology from the sheep compensates for a whole lot of things we do wrong. So anyway, the second deal we did here is we had rain forecasted for that night. It was that whole week of rain that we were supposed to get. So we've done the covers there. The crust busters back there that we used. But anyway, we drilled the covers here. We cleaned it out. We plugged the holes. We went 30-inch and we drilled this 6-pound Milo. So that was the other experiment that we did. The other side that we were going to look at last was planted with a planter. This was literally drilled with the crust buster at 6 pounds, and we're pretty happy. It gives us some options. Next year, I'm thinking we're going to go same way and go 60-inch corn on that northwest one and see if the sheep will. The whole theory is sheep will graze 60-inch corn, but I found no one that tells me it's true yet. So we're going to try it next year probably and do some of Michael's red corn on that field and go 60-inch part of the field and then see if the sheep will graze the corn or if they will graze between the corn. So next year that will be an experiment for next year. But so this will get sprayed probably in about 3 weeks, same as what we did on that north field, and you'll see the chemical reaction on the north field. But this will probably be sprayed in about 3 weeks. We're fixing to start that pivot once we move the sheep through to the northwest quarter, and then bring the pivot, water where they feed, and then water here, and then we got one more fence that we got to cut holes in it for the pivot to get through. So it's a working project, working progress. My brother's been down here for the last 2 weeks trying to get stuff done, and we still got one more fence to cut holes in, so the pivot can move through. We've got some ramps that I got from Texas over on that fence. They're not sheep-proof, we found out. So in Texas, it works great for the four-wheelers and between fences. Here, the sheep have figured it out. So he's designing the next step where we can kind of, put some barriers in place for the pivot still to cross and maybe keep the sheep in. So because they came and closed up that north fence this morning because we didn't want to put the sheep in the covers and have them access to the big Milo. So again, that's trial and error as we try and figure this out, how to build barriers but get the pivot through but not the sheep through. So.
Hey Nick, on your way, make sure you stop where that pipeline is buried and point the difference out.
We've got another experiment here. Back on the good tillage, bad tillage. That was Steve and Candy's comment last night, but we'll just keep walking straight and kind of go into that pasture and but again, if there's questions, holler.
Why don't you just want to go back to point? Is it the wrong grass? Is there not enough diversity?
There's not enough diversity yet. If you look at that field there, you'll see we're halfway better towards it there. So that might be a long-term goal. The biggest reason we got cash crops on these two sides right now is we don't have enough sheep for the project. So last year we were dry land and we had probably 3 times more sheep than we needed. We were feeding them the whole year last year because we didn't have any rain. Now that we got the pivot, we really can probably sustain 10 to 20 animals per acre, so we don't have enough sheep. The other deal is the perennials in the winter. If we can get like a CRT type mix here, which we're probably going to go to on that one, then we'll have something for the winter. Right now, we don't have enough diversity and we got to sit a year out. So while we prepare that one, we figured on these two, if we can raise Milo, have cash crop to supplement the project, income on the project, and also have winter stockpile for the sheep in the winter.
Because where you're in a real fragile environment, it seems to me like perennial would be, at least moving perennial.
The carrying capacity, unlike that northwest, is already going to be 10, 15 an acre, whereas perennials you're probably back to 2, 3, 4 an acre. So you probably have about 4 or 5 times the carrying capacity on the annuals versus perennials. Does that mean we don't want to go have some perennials? That's what we're trying to shoot for on that southwest quarter. We're probably going to try and establish perennials there, but we'll be back and forth into grazing it. But just numbers. If you water this now on our north circle, we're probably going to put some fescue in this year. So not fescue, Bermuda. So we're going to establish. We've got a sprigging crew coming in, probably going to do 30 acres of that. And we're going to try and move that where the ewe lambs, instead of dry lotting them now, we're going to move the ewe lambs to a green Bermuda 30 acres.
What would I'm just curious here, trying to figure out the thought process. So because I'm in North Central and I'm thinking long term of moving back to more perennials, where you have to take advantage of the rains when you get them. Now you have pivots, so that changes the whole environment. But if you didn't have pivots,
so all the corners here will go to perennials.
When you didn't have the rains and everything had come back, and you could probably seed some things. Are you thinking in those terms,
If-
or
if you-
what's wrong with that?
Well, we'll start all that again here. He can kind of give you an observation of what he saw at our CRP last night. Our perennial grasses that we established on the corners up on the north circle looks tremendous right now, but we had rain this year. And so a year like last year, you would have had zero capacity on those corners. So here we are going to establish the same deal on these corners, but we're just not going to sign it up as CRP. We're just going to establish perennial grasses out of pocket. And so that is something we're going to do on the corners, but on the circle where you have access to the water, you can't compare the numbers. The numbers on the annuals just overrun the perennial by far. So we are, even that said, the southwest quarter, just for the sake of it or the kick of it or whatever, we're trying to see how much perennials we can get back without sowing. And there's several showing up there. Now there's CRP on that side and there's CRP on that side. So we do get some stuff blowing in, but we're going to try and see how much will reestablish itself without us just grazing, supplementing rye in the winter, grazing, supplementing rye in the winter, kind of like column size, but just not harvesting it. And see what we can establish without establishing it. So the southwest one will be that experiment, and it will be perennials. It's that one, we're going to keep putting rye in it in the winter, but in the summer it is what is there is what we're grazing it. We haven't added any summer crop there. You can find some scattered rye and stuff here, but most of this field was that windmill grass that everyone hates. Sheep eat it. So when sheep eat it, you know, your enemy is your friend, kind of that whole deal comes. So that's what this base of this field is. Now if you walk around, we saw some last night, and Steve, who's the smart people, these other plants can identify grasses for us. On the spot, right there. Okay, so we got some perennials here. I mean, as you walk through, you'll notice there's a lot. Now, obviously, this one here, the sheep will eat it when it's small. When it's big, they don't eat it. This here, they just love. So we were trying to figure out last night. Most of this is new for this year, so it's been coming in from wherever. But as the sheep graze, we see more and more perennials come in. And to answer, I guess, Josh's question, this is our field that's going to be our perennial field. We're just not going to spend money on it. We're going to graze it, put winter cereal in it to keep the biology alive, and just see what Mother Nature does. And so far, we're impressed. The sheep's been in here for 6-7 weeks now, and you can tell they're not hungry. I mean, they don't give a well where we are. I mean, they usually when we're here, and it's like last year when we were dry, they'd all be around us here. They want food. This year, they're pretty content where they are. They don't have a problem. So obviously it's nutritional. Maybe Casey can take some samples back. I don't know where she's hiding. Oh, there she is. Where's Terry? There's Terry. So maybe we can take some samples back and kind of see just basically, but my guess it's going to be pretty high fiber, not that much protein, but it's still enough protein. If you look at the body score of the sheep when we move them, you'll notice that they're in pretty good shape. So that's pretty much the history on this field. Who's got a shovel? Yesterday we dug a little. It's kind of dry, but you can still get some moisture. There you go.
Yeah, so this was the species that Rick pointed out that would not be grazed. So it's a bunch grass, so it's across the pasture. And I tried to use plant snap on it, and I don't think it was right.
Perennial free on.
So it was right then. Yeah.
You can get a hole dug here. Kind of just look. Think you can get it. So yesterday we're looking at the structure. This field, besides for the last 4 years, same thing. It's been disc pretty much 5 times a year for 17 years. So what we looked at yesterday is how quickly animals and grazing can change biology. Now there's been something growing on here all the time, but you can come and look and see. And I mean, we've dug fairly deep here, and there's really no layers left. I mean, it's pretty much eliminated it. So,
Do you have any intentions of putting any winter lagoons in with your cereals?
yes, it's been having. Now, something we saw yesterday is look at the biology, look at the worm tails. And that's what we saw on that side. Is we get a rain, they're all over. I mean, it's. So the biology is here. The worms are here. I mean, the structure has improved. It was funny yesterday. We'll dig a little bit where we've been bale feeding. Obviously, you can see a dark inch on the top, just way overload of biology and carbon. But the activity is there. I mean, right now it's dry, the worms are down. I was hoping we'd catch a rain last night because you'll see the worms on the top, and when you dig, you'll find them. We actually did this by the hay yesterday. But there's a lot of activity there, not a whole lot of plow pans. I mean, good structure. So just even in 4 years of grazing, adding cereals in the winter, we've come a long way in, getting back to eliminating the disking that has been wrong.
We get these down to BB size, about. Fill up these bowls. Get some water. Enough to cover them. Like I said, it's a pretty inexpensive test. And then you saturate. More here. So this is no disturbance, and that's had a pass.
Nick, this is like no disturbance for like
4 years.
This is 4 years.
So there is a little, what we look at, like in the case of cement, we talk about a slump test is how much it stands up, how much aggregate stability there is. So you're building some, it's standing. I'll get one more over there if you can remember what this looks like, where he has a sorghum, where it's growing. And it kind of gives you a little comparison. The water's a little clearer, you can see, where it's running off of, this is under the grass, this was over in that tilled area. So it is holding together quite a bit better. Another way you can tell, generally these are pretty close. It takes a while to do things down here. You gotta have rainfall for aggregates to build and grow. So generally you'll see, better water quality in the no-tilled or untilled versus a till. But your one pass isn't too bad compared to your 4 years, really. So it's not too bad for here. Like, we don't want any of that. But I know Mama. Is that his wife? No, his wife's in the blue. The blue. Okay. That's walking towards the fence.
If you have moisture, you can offset it. In the dryland environment, it's hard. The trails are not too bad. Too many people here. Diva, no. Move. I don't know what it is. It's a dog. The one in the back is well, I mean, they're the same, but the one in the back won't come here. She don't like people at all. She's got a little PTSD. That one is just chilling to death. I mean, she's not very aggressive, let me put it that way. So Dell asked about marketing. So we market to Capra, which goes to Whole Foods, and that's where the market is. Most of our ram lambs, our ewe lambs, are sold for breeding, and then the ram lambs will go to market mostly at Whole Foods. That's why it's supposed to be grass-fed, no grain, antibiotics. If we do give antibiotics, that's one big tag that gets out of the supply chain. We'll sell it locally. But that's marketing. Capra was supposed to be here today, but they had conflict, so they couldn't go. If guys have questions on it, but right now the market for sheep is insane. I mean, there's just not a shortage of market opportunities right now. Numbers. A lot of guys think that if you farm 40,000 acres, you can run 10,000 head of sheep within 2 years. it's not that easy.
Okay, Doug.
We've seen several guys try that and then go back to maybe 500 and start over kind of deal. So it's not like everyone in his neighbor can just get a sheep herd suddenly. The breeding stock's not there, so it's in my opinion, we're not going to see any change in probably 3 to 5 years. Just in numbers, the numbers are not there, and then also the millennials are driving this market and they're not going anywhere. So it's a different market. It's a meat sheep market. It's not a wool sheep market. The ethnic market's always existed. That's been the supply traditionally for a long time, but right now it's the millennial market. They're not hungry at all.
My husband would run after them.
They're like, why did you call us?
We got a lot of green grass.
So they will start lambing in about 6 weeks. They're hopefully most of them are bred, but they will be. I think the 7th of September is their date where they're going to start sheep lambing. Just go, they'll probably follow. If they see where you're going, they'll come. But they've not been hungry. This piece that they've been on about 10 weeks now. And we figured every time we're like, okay, it's done, they've grazed it, we come out here and there's still a ton of grazing. We tried, so they lamb in the fall and in the spring. Spring lambing is natural for them. That's when they lamb a lot more successfully. Fall lambing is a little tougher, but we'll still get a good percentage of it. But we've got some lamb ewes in here that have had twin lambs every fall and every spring for like 5 years. So you're talking 4 lambs per ewe per year, which is really good numbers. In a year, we're probably 150 to 300, just depends on where we are. But like a fall lambing usually is about 50 to 100%. Spring lambing is usually 100 to 150%. But spring lambing is always a lot better. We can follow them in. Hopefully they attract all the mosquitoes when we get there. You want to try and kill the weeds behind the combine, then come back in a month, kill the volunteer, kill the weeds again, and then sow your crop. Probably anywhere from now to the 15th of August. You don't fight the big weeds, you don't fight the volunteer, and you maintain a lot more of your non-traditional species by that way. Following the combine here for us, again, Kelly Kettler's not here. There's several guys that have been doing this as long, if not longer than I do, and we've all tried it and all had miserable, disasters with weeds going behind the combine in our environment. It's just, the heat is just too much. And then they'll settle down. They're outrunning still, you can see them. So they'll outrun. Grazing sheep is a lot different than grazing cows. Cows, they move the fence, they go, they graze. Sheep don't graze like that. Sheep will go. Yeah, if you break this apart, you can kind of tell it's already, I mean, this is literally the first year, or first month, there's a worm right there. No, that's right.
No.
Yes, some little ones. Not a whole lot yet. So I don't know if they've been with Augustine there every time we're not, but we've seen a lot less bulk density and a lot better infiltration. And he's got some comparisons between spring and fall too. That if he was here, he would share that. But definitely every year we're seeing a decrease in bulk density and an increase in infiltration, even after 7 years. And so, you know, we can, like I said, Scott, when we started the discussion there, every spring we seem to recharge by itself, and we plant into moisture, and we don't water the corn hardly at all. Like we put some chemical after we plant, and then we walk away, and we'll get 2-3 foot roots really quickly. This year we put the probe in a really tight spot, so when we started down up there, first they told us on the probe we want to go to the majority of the small temple field, and we did that, and that's how we started. Well, then we managed to fill the water accordingly to that, then that leachy spot just burned to a crisp. By the time the majority of the field had shown us we needed water, the leachy spot had burned up, and we actually went like 60 bushel. I mean, it was like bad. So since then we've changed it, and we put the probe every year at the worst spot in the field. And we've managed the worst spot in the field, and if we can get the worst spot in the field not to burn up, we usually have excess water on the rest of the field. And again, we only have 220 gallons of it. So when you run a full circle of corn, you got to juggle really well between two halves of corn, when to water, when not to water, to maintain, you know, yield there. And